Hey everyone, Duke Nougat 3D here with another item from my collection, and today I have for you not a gas mask, but my German Draeger Vollgesichtsmaske Model 60 or Draeger R60 full-face diving mask. These were designed in Germany, obviously, sometime in the early 1960s as a military and commercial full-face diving mask. And these were primarily used by the Germans. However, they were also exported to the Netherlands for use as well with the Dutch military. And as far as I know, they weren't really seen anywhere else. These are extremely rare to find in the United States, and I'm lucky to have my hands on one of these. They do have a couple face piece variants as well. I have the quote-unquote military variant, which uses a microphone integrated into the side of the face piece. We'll get more on that later. I have seen variants that use an outlet valve in the chin. However, those were probably used with SCBA units or positive pressure, and not for scuba purposes like this example. And I have also seen chemical suits made by Auer that have a copy of this mask, a direct copy, also made by Auer instead of Draeger, integrated into the suit itself, which was interesting. I've only seen one example of those recently, though. So anyhow, there really isn't a whole lot of info on these masks out there. I see a lot of divers with them from time to time, at least diving collectors, and pretty much they're kind of obscure. They're one of those things that you kind of have seen around a lot, but you really don't know much about them. I don't even know when they stopped using these, to be quite frank. They possibly in the 1980s, but at least on a wide scale, but I do know a lot of vintage divers still continue to use these in certain instances. And unfortunately, a majority of these are being sold to fetishists. I hate to say it, but fortunately, the fetishists don't seem to be modifying them, so at least that's good. But anyhow, the Draeger R60, I'm just going to call it that. My example here is in overall very good condition, for at least for the mask alone. The microphone has seen better days, and then the regulator I have is completely fried. Let's get into that. So the mask is typically used with a PA38 style regulator, which is what mine originally came with. Mine was modified to fit on standard scuba yoke type second stage regulators, because this is a first stage regulator. And do know, again, this is 40 millimeters, so I could literally take, say, this Belgian BEM4 GP gas mask filter and just screw it on there, and that's the end of that. But obviously this is not a gas mask, so that would not work quite right. But anyhow, I have tried to restore this PA38 regulator in the past, but it's kind of a project I kind of gave up on. There would be a pressure line coming off of this knurled or barbed fitting here. There is a rubber cover over the regulator itself. This button in the center is the purge valve, which presses down on the diaphragm to let air in and clear the mask, clear the regulator, all that good stuff. Peeling off the rubber cover, which sadly has some dry rot inside of it, you can see the retainer plate for the diaphragm, which is in complete shit condition. Initial attempts to remove this resulted in getting the metal deeply gouged and scratched, and so I went ahead and dremeled most of the deep gouges out, and my plan was to send this regulator casing off to be re-chromed, but so far that hasn't happened. And then inside you have the diaphragm, which is amazingly in astounding condition. It is made out of a rubberized nylon. Overall held its shape very well. It works just fine and could be easily reused. And then inside is where we're missing parts. The valve system is intact and functional, has the needle valve here. When you breathe in, the pressure on the diaphragm, the suction on the diaphragm, forces it inwards and presses on this valve here, which lets air through. And when it's in this neutral state, it does not let air through. I've went ahead and cleaned out the needle valve, so that's all good. But I'm missing the valve that goes inside here. I do know that the Chinese make an exact reproduction of this mask, almost exact. The only way you can tell the difference is the fact that it obviously does not have the microphone on the side. The lens clamp is just one clamp on the top, and then it has an equalizer pad coming up through the bottom of the face piece. And what that is just a fabric pad that you can use to pinch your nose, or plug your nose rather, so you can blow out and equalize the pressure in your ears. But anyways, So yeah, I do know that the Chinese have an exact clone of this mask, and I've been tempted to order the replacement valve for their copy of the PA38 regulator. I'm not entirely sure if it will fit, but due to how cheap it was being Chinese market, I was tempted to, but so far I have not figured out how to make to order off of English Taobao or even the regular Chinese Taobao. In fact, I cannot even get my passwords to work anymore for some reason, so that is unfortunate. Every time I've tried to order something off of English Taobao or just the Taobao sites in general, it unfortunately does not let me go through the checkout process, which is, again, I don't know why. Their websites are extremely broken, and the only other site that I know is selling the Chinese copy of the Model 60, which, by the way, is known as the Type 693. The only other site that I know that's selling it is AliExpress, but it is at an outrageous price of well over $300 for just the mask and regulator alone, whereas it could be had for under or around $150 on Taobao. So that is basically my standing case in restoring this regulator. I need to get the part for it because it is impossible to find the actual Draeger PA38 valve. I have not located an unissued replacement, so this project is on quite permanent hold until then. And this is the ring that would be holding the valve in place here, and it acts as both the inlet and the outlet valve. I could plug up these holes and then just use this as a positive pressure mask, but that's not really what I want to do to such a rare mask. I want to be able to restore this. So yeah, that's a bit unfortunate. The microphone, as you can see, is detached from the mask. It's not that good a shape. It looks fine externally, but pulling the microphone off, the cables were detached, and the microphone is all bent out of shape, and it's just terrible condition on the inside. So I have it detached for reasons. The mask itself is made out of a very thick and heavy-duty natural rubber, black rubber, obviously. You can see the nut on the side of the facepiece where the microphone would thread into. You have a stamp for Draeger work on this side. On the opposite side, you have a Draeger stamp and then the 40mm threads. There is no date stamp on this mask. However, it did come with the factory tag, which I don't have here to show you, which proved that this mask is dated 1965. So fairly early expected production run of this mask. The harness is a 5-point, again, unfortunately. Germans in their 5 points, just every European in their 5-point. I mean, it's just, I swear. But anyways, the top strap is non-adjustable, which, again, is kind of a bad design idea. But the bottom two straps, the temple and the cheek straps, are adjustable. The buckles, I don't like. It's a very stiff and awkward system to use. It's just, I personally don't like it. I've seen other people use these and have no problem with them, but my particular example is a bit stiff in its operation. On the back of the head harness, you have another Draeger work and a Draeger stamp, and that is about it for markings externally for this mask. There is no plastic parts on this mask whatsoever. It is completely rubber and metal. And I will undo the harness here, or at least try to, in a timely fashion, and show off the interior of the mask. Although really you can kind of just see the interior of the mask for yourself. There's a periphery seal. I guess I really don't need to show off the inside for you guys. You can plainly see it throughout the plastic lens here. It's a very thick polycarbonate and not glass or anything like that. So, and as promised, as the title of the video, I do have a bonus mask for you. Just a mask that really wouldn't take up much space in its own review. So this is my second oldest gas mask in my collection, just after my RFK, which is from 1918. This is my Canadian General Civilian Respirator, and obviously it's in terrible condition. I picked this up at my surplus store for literally all of $5, so not a bad deal. These were commonly issued in Canada to civilians. I do know there were a couple other civilian gas masks that Canada used, but this is the most common one. It is virtually identical to the British variant of the General Civilian Respirator. However, the Canadian variant is identified by its tan stockinette covered rubber facepiece, whereas the British just use bare black rubber. And they typically do not have a pre-filter over the standard General Civilian Respirator canister, whereas the British ones will have a blue pre-filter taped over it. You have an arrow stamp here, you have a size small, made by BF Goodrich Company, and dated 1942, December 1942, and another arrow stamp here. The interior, I guess I'll show off to you. The harness is very simple, just like the British one. Just a metal center buckle with 3 straps and safety pins to pin the harness into its proper position. And then inside here, as you can see, half the rubber of the mask is chipped away from the face piece. The rest of it is warped and semi-flexible. Removing this ball of paper here, which is actually stuck to the mask. Give me a sec here. I'll try and get it free. Yeah, the rubber is kind of sticky in places. Here you can see this inlet valve is not original. This is actually pulled off of a M10A1 canister. The valve, as you can see, is kind of rotted in the center where it goes through the pin. And so I just figured, hey, I'll slap it on here. It works. So that's the reason this is there. I think the original valves were slightly smaller, but peeling it back, you can see the filtering material throughout the back there. There is another 1242 stamp and another, there is a DR1 right there. I'm not sure what that refers to, but anyhow, that's the interior of the mask. Nothing to see. Put the ball of paper back in there. And as you can see, the lens is split in 3 places, but for $5, not bad for a mask that's kind of infrequently found in the United States compared to Canada. So that's basically it for my German Draeger R60 and Canadian General Civilian respirator. Hope you enjoyed. Feel free to drop any comments, questions, or concerns as always, and I'll get to them when I can. I'm Duke Nuke 3D, and I'll see you all later.